agenda that's in your packet. Mhm.
Of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all members are here and accounted for. So, Jonathan, you ready? Uh, we've got a little change to our agenda here. You'll see this is going to be the format going forward. So at the bottom are our 2022 Q1 goals. Any potential issues we've decided to add for quarter two, we'll develop a running list down here at the bottom. So whenever some citizen or you or whatever comes up with something that they want the council to address, this is where those issues go. Anything big, small, whatever. So if y'all just shoot me an email, text, whatever, say, hey, please add this to the next quarter's issues list. Then we'll discuss that at the end of the quarter and decide if it comes on to the current quarter. So I've asked Jonathan to start updating us every meeting on any issues that are off track. We're not going to go through the list. You can see the list. All we need is a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah. So currently our quarter one goals are on track. I don't foresee any issues at this time.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we'll go right into agenda review. So one thing that I realize some of you have realized now is that there was a slight tweak to the agenda this afternoon. We'll go through that in detail as we work down through the agenda. So if everybody could turn to the agenda in your meeting packet. So we've got our consent agenda, which consists of some meeting minutes and some contract billings, which is 3 Notch Partners, Gov Deals, and some various invoices there. We got some travel requests and some requests to dispose and sell equipment. So none of that changed since Friday. Does anybody have any concerns, anything they want to pull out and address? Okay. So then we've got a request to address council. Mr. O'Neill Boswell, which we've done several times. The James Gang is setting up for a carnival again. Then we got privilege of the floor and staff reports. We don't have any old business to discuss. But we do have some new business, which is the subject of some of our changes. So I don't know if some of you realize this or not, but on the packet that Beverly sent out Friday to us, it had resolution 021522, and that addressed both accepting the deed from the state of Alabama concerning the YMCA property, and it also had to, in the same resolution, it was approving the lease for the YMCA. So I felt that it was best if we separated those into 2 separate issues, because I know that all of us have had some conversations, both with staff and with the YMCA over this. So I decided, okay, accepting the deed, non-controversial. Let's split that out. Let's set the lease into its own thing so we can discuss that. So, the resolution 021522 simply calls for a resolution to accept the deed. I mean, we've all been briefed on this. Everybody knows what's going on here. If anybody here is not aware, the state of Alabama is deeding the property that the YMCA currently sits on, that we've apparently had a lease on for in excess of 50 years, right? Around 52, 53 years, somewhere around 1970. We've had a lease. It was a DOT work camp, prison camp, and so they leased it to us. We turned around and leased it to the YMCA for a period. There's not currently really a hard and fast lease in place, but we're getting the property, so this is a big deal. I know this is something the mayor, Jonathan, worked hard on, so thank y'all. Any questions on that? All right, so moving to the lease. So like I said, we don't currently, am I right? We don't currently have anything more than a gentleman's agreement or a continuance month to month, year to year of what we had before, basically a dollar option or not dollar option, but a dollar lease. So, basically we're letting them occupy the property. So this is what we've got here before us is 021522A, which is to approve the lease of the YMCA. So we've got two options here. One of them you were sent this afternoon, which reads, I'll just read them. So the state of Alabama has agreed to convey the city a tract of property consisting of approximately 20 acres currently used by the local YMCA and located at 904 State Highway 27, also known as Ozark Highway, Enterprise, Alabama 36320. Now, therefore, let it be resolved. The City Council approves the lease with the YMCA, authorizes the mayor to execute said lease for a period not to exceed blank years. We would need to fill in the blank. This resolution shall take effect upon passage. So that's one option, is for us to discuss right now how many years we want that to be. The other options, in essence, gives the mayor and staff a little more leeway to go negotiate the final terms with the Y. So it reads, City Council approves the lease for the YMCA in a form substantially similar to the attached and authorizes the mayor to execute said lease after agreement on final terms is obtained between the mayor and city administrator. So basically we're saying go negotiate the lease, basically using this that we've seen, that we've all had an opportunity to look at, use that as the guidelines, but work out the final details with the Y, so it gives them a little leeway. And granted, as with many things we've done in the past, the expectation would be that the mayor, Jonathan, communicate with each of us on how that's going, making sure there's not going to be any heartburn. So I'll open the floor. Scotty, what are your thoughts on where you want to go with this?
Well, one of the things, and the 3-year thing, that's because we can't do anything with that property since it's deeded to us now, that you can't change, you can't do anything, right? That's where the 3-year came from?
So as part of the deed, and Rayner, I'm not sure what law this references, but essentially state code will not allow us, the city, to do anything with that property for 3 years. We can't convey it. We can't,
Okay.
do anything other than, what it's currently being used for 3 years. So we structured something so that at that time, this governing body could figure out, what they wanted to do, because it's kind of moot at this point. We can't talk about what will happen, may happen in 3 years, and we thought that would create a little bit of a risk or exposure onto the city if we went out beyond that.
Yeah, my one thought is, and concern is too, is that, the Y has been there for all those years. I'm sure there's a lot of folks in here that have been to the Y or been through the Y. My kids have. I refereed over there when they first started the first soccer program in the city. And, they've been leasing it for 40-something odd years. And so, to pick a number, I've had several conversations with folks, 3, 7, 10, 15, 20. If we put 3, we're going to come back and review this again in 3 years. They've been good tenants. I know a lot of folks that rode their bicycles over there who are now judges and lawyers and doctors and everybody else. But the thing is why do we have to put a number on it? I mean, why? They've been good tenants, 45 years. The property's been there. My concern is if that Y goes away, which has been a stakeholder right there, done a lot for the city, along with our outstanding recreation department.
Sure.
Gives people options and stuff. But what would happen? Somebody comes in and, now I want that land or something. I'm going to put whatever on it. I'm just saying. I'm just surmising.
Sure.
Then that's going to be a whole another can of worm opened up. Me personally, I just say, they've been there 45 years. Why not 45 more years? They've been in the neighborhood. Why put a date on it? We didn't need the land. We've been subleasing it all this time to them, right? So we haven't needed the land for anything.
Right.
It's been a stakeholder. So why are we now coming up going, okay, let's just go 3 years, or then let's go 7 years, or whatever it is, because you'll have to come right back around. I keep repeating myself and view this again. So that's when I read the one thing with the 3 years, that's just got to be, we've got to think about that.
Well, to be clear, that was not an option. You know, we've got two options. So one of them where we determine the length tonight.
Right.
There's a blank currently on there. The 3 years was
In Exhibit B, it says 3
right,
years.
right.
That's
right,
what I was just quoting.
Right, but this one, you know, this one with Exhibit B says, you know, that we're giving the mayor and staff the leeway to negotiate that if they come up with 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever.
Well, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw
Yeah.
this 3 right here, and that
Yeah,
that should be a blank right there then too. Wouldn't you think? I mean, why are we putting? You know, I know this is just a draft.
Well, it specifically does says on final terms obtained between.
right. I mean, it clearly says
And
after agreement on final terms is obtained, and obviously the length of the lease is what we're referring to there.
Right. So now, will we have an opportunity then, when they come back and say, okay, between the Y and the city, we've agreed on these number of years to approve it then, right?
If that's what we want to do, absolutely.
Okay.
But if we passed Resolution 021522A as it's currently formed, this version, no.
Right.
Legally, we would be giving the mayor and his staff the legal authority to go out and negotiate those. Now, practically, that's not what that looks like. Practically, they're going to keep us, you know, but so if we want to set a finite amount of terms, then we need to go with this one that has the blank and insert a number. 200 years or 2 months. But that, if we want to leave here tonight with that, with knowing what that term is going to be, then we need to go with this version.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
Greg, your thoughts?
Well, I think my thoughts on this is, while they have been a major contributor to the city over 40 whatever years, 50 whatever years it's been, and we know current leadership, and we know we have a lot of good things that come out of it. I would be concerned in making it an infinite, because we never know what direction a certain organization may take. I think if the city owns a piece of property, we ought to have some sort of oversight at various intervals, whatever that interval is that we decide. I also feel like that if there's a lengthy term agreed to it, then there ought to be reasons for that, because we have, as a council, have decided on almost everything we've done not to make a decision that's going to cause a future council to be locked into something that they may or may not want to have happen, unless there's a significant reason for that to be the case. So to me, some significant reasons could be, you know, some guaranteed improvements to the property if we're going to do a lengthy term. So I think those kind of things need to be considered when we're talking about this subject, is if we decide to go longer and impede a future council, what is the reasoning for that? Because just as the council is going to change, leadership in an organization can change too, and I think it goes both ways. We have to consider that.
Right. Eugene, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not in favor of a 3-year agreement. I think it should be much longer than that, 10 or 20 years. I do not think you should have an indefinite amount, because if something were to occur, like we say, the city could come up and decide they need that property for something else, might build a new building somewhere else for the YMCA or whatever. I'm in favor of letting the mayor and the city administrator meet with the board from the Y and come up with an agreement.
So you would be comfortable with that too, right?
I would be, but I just would definitely want that knowledge that if we go for a long extended period, there needs to be some.
Yeah. Sonia, your thoughts?
I don't have a burning about either, but I tend to go with letting them go out and talk with the folks at the Y and try to come together
Mhm.
and similar to what we've done with other things. And whatever that number is, um, I think we need to keep in mind also how we've looked at the, future councils as well. I don't know how that's going to look with this, but I think it gives them an opportunity to be involved. I guess to have some input. Ultimately, it's going to come back to us, but at least we know kind of what some conversations. Yeah, I haven't had any with anyone from the Y or any, so I don't have a problem with that.
So you would be okay with the one that says execute said lease after agreement on final terms is obtained by the mayor and city administrator.
City
Okay.
administrator.
So yeah, and that's where I am too. I'm certainly not in favor, and I've spoken with folks over at the Y as recent as today, and so I'm not telling them saying anything that they don't know. I mean, I would not be in favor of an indefinite. I do think that when our obligation, to be clear, is to the taxpayers and residents of the city of Enterprise. We need checkpoints. To Greg's point, organizations change. There's transitions in leadership. There's transitions in boards. Economies change. I think we need checkpoints. Obviously, I'm not hearing anybody say they want anything but what's best for the Y and for the Y to continue to thrive. But the reality is it's the city's property. It's for 50 some years, the city's been the one that had the lease, the master lease with Aldott. So we've always had some control, but now it's going to be our property. By our, I mean the city government's property. And so I think we have an obligation to have checkpoints. Now, whether that's 3 years, 5 years, annual visits, whatever that means, I trust Jonathan and the mayor to negotiate those finer points. But that's where I am on that. So, I mean, Scotty, could you?
Well, I go along with that. I mean, yeah, because I know when they negotiate, the Y is going to look out for how many years
Correct.
they think.
Yeah, so
and then
keep
we
in
do
mind
have
this is a bilateral agreement.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to say, I don't like this, I like this.
Yeah.
They're going to have a seat at the table.
Sure.
So,
Right, and that's why I made my suggestion so that the lines won't get blurred with the public. That this is
Yes.
about a time of lease, and it's not about
right.
anything else other than that. It's not about trying to change anything with the Y. Just trying to figure out this business part of it going forward. What needs to happen with the.
I think to protect the city and the Y, the lease is a good document to have.
Exactly.
From a staff standpoint, that's up to you what the terms of the final terms of the lease look like. We just needed a template to start from, and the 3 years seemed like a natural starting point.
Yeah. Okay, so if everybody's okay with it, I'm gonna take this one out of my packet just for clarity, and I will read this resolution in full when we get to that, which says, just so everybody's following, it says the City Council approves the lease with the YMCA in a form substantially similar to the attached and authorizes the mayor to execute said lease after agreement on final terms is obtained between the mayor and the city administrator. Now, Rainer, to be clear, even though the exhibit has some very specific terms in there, numbers, we're not locking them into those numbers.
No, in fact, it's the same what I would do before it's passed. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I just got back from the cheer competition 2 hours ago.
Did you win?
We would definitely have come
Need a demonstration.
what I would suggest on the terms is, before it's passed, walk through 3.
I can do that right here. This is the one we're going to sign.
Everything else is what we call in the legal field a triple net lease. The Y so far has been responsible all these years for insurance and maintenance, and that's the way it would stay. So those terms would stay. When we get to the other issues.
Yeah, the length is what there's been discussion around. So if everybody will see what we're going to sign has 3 marked out right there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Got that taken care of. We will move on with we're behind schedule here. So we've got Find Getty and Associates. So this is something that we presented the mayor and his staff with, is to lock down a state agenda. This is something that came out of our strategic plan. Everybody understands what's going on there. Then approve selection, authorize mayor to execute agreement with KPS Group comprehensive plan. Again, this is something that we gave them marching orders on, was to start the process on a comprehensive plan. Staying on, along with that was the task order for the resurfacing project phase 3. That was a goal of ours this quarter. Y'all stop me if you want to discuss something. But Glenn, if you can give us an update during the regular meeting on that task 3, what this means. Then we're going to request an additional full-time position for engineering and building inspector. Jonathan, you want to brief us on that?
Yeah, and I'll ask Barry to come up as well. But essentially, the city's running about 198, call it 200 inspections a month right now, and we don't work 30 days during the month, so we're averaging somewhere around 10, 11 inspections a day, and they're having to drive all over the place. We've gotten a lot of calls and concerns from our contractors out there that we're not meeting the standard that they have, their expectation that when they're building those homes or commercial properties, that we can't fit them in. We have to give them 2 days, 5 days out on our schedule because of just the volume. So Barry came up with a plan, which I'll let him talk about to help alleviate that. It's currently not a position that we have. There's definitely a need for it. But in essence, we think that it can be relatively budget neutral, maybe a slight increase in the engineering overall budget and salaries. Anyway, Barry.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, what he's saying is true. We're seeing a long trend of increased inspections across the city, and we don't see that slowing down. Matter of fact, the number of home neighborhoods that we have currently on the books or in construction is still trending in the upward position. So in the event that we lose we have 2 building inspectors now. If in the event we lose one of those guys to COVID or sickness or vacation, we're down to 1, and it's nearly impossible to meet those needs. So the plan that I talked to was we've got a couple people in-house that have been doing part-time inspections with our 2 building inspectors and want to be a building inspector when they grow up in their future career. So what I'm proposing is to open up a 3rd building inspector position for in-house staff to apply for, and what that would be would be a 50-50 split. Be half administrative in the office, half in the field. So when we need to engage a 3rd full-time inspector, we can put them in the field for full-time inspection, or if it were to slow down, they go back and help back in the office. So it's a dual role, but paying them appropriately and putting them in the position of what they should be doing, which would be a full-time building inspector at times. So like Jonathan said, we ran the numbers on it, and at this point, it looks like we'll still stay within budget on our salaries for the year, even though it's a slight increase for what we have currently. But I'll answer any questions you got.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've gotten phone calls and questions, concerns about it, so I appreciate y'all getting creative and coming up with solutions. Anybody have anything, any concerns on this? Okay. All right. Thank you, Barry.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then the last item on the agenda is some lighting modifications for Bellawood Subdivision. So pretty standard run-of-the-mill stuff there. Any questions on that? All right. Any additions to the agenda? Everybody good with the updated agenda? Sorry that y'all did not have a.
And the nomination for the zoning board.
Yeah, the zoning board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, so Greg, you're going to nominate Robin Boyd tonight, right? Okay. All right. Any need for discussion surrounding that? All right. I apologize. All right. Now, any additions, deletions from the agenda? All right. That concludes agenda review. We'll move on to a training and development plan discussion. Christina and Jonathan.
So in your packets, you should have a memorandum from Christina. One of the things that you had talked about when you and the mayor met for your strategic planning meeting was, you asked us about how we can do a better job connecting to people and have, better and maybe more responsive staff. A lot of that goes into how we train, and we don't currently have a lot of modules or in-house training options for employees, whether or not that's conflict resolution, leadership training. Anyway, we investigated, and Christina did a lot of legwork on this. There was a module that NeoGov is the provider that has over 1,200 courses in a catalog, and it's compatible with some of the other things that we're currently using in the HR department. We also talked about performance evaluations and other things, but after talking with Christina, her recommendation was that we implement in phases, so that we can absorb, one thing at a time. And the most pressing, what I've heard from our staff, from our department heads, a lot is that, I need ways to help train my staff, give them the tools that they need to be safe on the job, give them the tools that they need to deal with the public and with each other. And so with that, Christine, I'll let you go ahead and talk about the cost and how that might be implemented.
So, as you see on the second page of that memo, there is an incentive pricing. There's an annual license fee. In the first year, it's reduced, and it gives us an incentive of about $5,000. There's going to be a one-time setup training fee, which is $3,000, and then in that second year, it will go to normal pricing at the $20,265. So you see where it's broken out, the initial upfront cost, including the one-time training fee, and then what the cost would be at standard pricing. This would be in addition to what we already pay for the Insight piece, which is our applicant tracking system. But we have already used NeoGov for applicant tracking. We've had success with it. We feel very confident that the setup and the continuity with training would be there. We've had great success with that. And then we've also talked with several municipalities around the state that have had success with implementing these modules.
All right. So this is not on the agenda tonight, obviously. So, what's the timeline? What do you need from us? How long do we have to kind of digest this?
Yeah, so we had that looking here on a Q1 objective.
Right.
So to meet that deadline, one of the next two council meetings, we would have to get this proposal formalized and approved. It would require us to amend the budget. We certainly didn't have this in our current year's budget, but I mean, basically, it would need to get on the agenda at one of the council meetings in March.
Yeah. And so, council, I mean, obviously, this was something that we identified as a need. So hopefully, this doesn't come as a surprise to any of us. Obviously, I think we discussed at our strategic planning meeting that our number one expense is our people. We need to get more efficient. We need them better trained. And we want to retain them. We want to be able to onboard them much easier. So, I think this is just our staff doing what we've asked them to do. Does anybody have any specific questions? I realize this is a lot, so we need a little bit of time to digest
I was
it.
just going to say, it looks pretty thorough.
Yeah.
On all areas for all employees.
Yeah, and a lot of our particularly our police and fire, they do a good job. They have
Right.
training modules and things that they get for professional development naturally. The rest of the city employees don't have that luxury. And this is something that even the department heads, if we had our own module that we wanted to build, that was a unique skill set for maybe sanitation or wastewater treatment, Barry could build his own module about the way we do business and upload it and track that training and monitor it.
So it's a learning management system.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my suggestion then would be to obviously not address this tonight. It's not on the agenda. Y'all study. Got any questions? Talk to Christina and Jonathan, and just whenever y'all want to get it on a future agenda, would y'all be comfortable in 2 weeks if staff
Sure.
wanted it?
Mhm.
So you got some homework. Okay. All right, so we've got City Recreation Center and pool update from Jonathan and Barry.
Yeah, Barry, and I guess Billy Powell too. But I want to commend Barry and Billy for the work that they've been doing. We all took a trip down to Foley to look at I think a model recreation type facility that we've been looking at. But they have put in a lot of hours trying to get the numbers down. Obviously, inflation has impacted a lot of what we're looking at on material prices and bids for similar projects throughout the state. But I just really want to brag on them because they have put a lot of time and energy into getting, I think, a cost-effective, and even though the numbers are high that you'll see and they'll talk about, in today's environment, it's a cost-effective solution that Billy spent a lot of time making sure that it fit the community needs and what he needs for his programs and services to offer through Parks and Rec for the next 50 years. We're decommissioning a recreation center sometime this year that's been around that long or longer, and it served us well. But what does that look like going forward? So that's the mindset we use when we look through this. So, Barry.
Thank you, gentlemen. As we talked about in the design contracts, we have a 30, 60, 90% submittal. Just to refresh your mind, 30% basically to get some kind of a floor plan, square footage, and usage down so that we can develop a scope and a schedule for the project. Then, of course, when we get to 60%, we get a lot more down in the weeds about what kind of HVAC, what kind of lighting, what kind of, all those details at 60%. And 90% in my world is 100% unreviewed. So we have a complete set of construction drawings at 100%. But the 30% is real important because it sets the tone for what we're trying to build and what kind of order of magnitude and scope. So we're working with our architect on that. I want to go through some of the slides with you, but before I do, I want to give the floor to Billy for a minute. Just, if you will, talk about what you're trying to accomplish in the interior in a general set, and then we'll go through the drawings that I've got.
Okay, just give you a brief information. I know Barry's going to update it screen by screen pretty much. Y'all have a packet that he presented to you all that was printed off, but the process of what does a rec center look like? I know back in 2018 we commissioned to do the study with C.C. Litchfield, and we did a town hall meeting, had various ideas from the public. Of course, we had more influx about not just about the rec center, but what other programs outside that we can offer as well. But anyway, we're here to talk about the recreation center today. We looked at the opportunity to one is to connect to the existing gym, which is Moose Oak Gym. It's been there since 1986. We wanted to utilize that gym, and to do that, so we decided how can we connect to it. That means shutting down Brunson Street, keeping that as a road drive-through as it's been for many years as well. But as you see in the plan, how we connect, we can put in 4 additional courts to connect to the gym to make it a five gym recreation center. And why did we decide to do that? Well, the increase of basketball, one. Currently, we're spread out. We're having to use 4. If not, we could have used 5 gyms just this past year in our basketball program, youth basketball program. That's from ages 5-year-olds up to 18. Volleyball is growing, so we can play volleyball here. That gives us opportunity to be able to do a share use in one location. Pickleball is growing here. Maybe we can establish the floors to do pickleball court. There's other areas of indoor soccer, the handball. The opportunities it's there. Banquet styles. I know that we have the Civic Center, but we can set it up a lot differently, dealing with banquet styles or trade shows that you can divide it off easier than we can right there at the Civic Center, but not to take away from the Civic Center. We would like to utilize that first, but as a way that we can utilize. We just want to show you different ways of usage. Also, we think about not only just sporting stuff, people coming into exercise. We're not, we put in floor plans for programming space. Programming is very needed in here. It's shown right now that we're using the Civic Center right now and Farmers Market dealing with our programming. And just that's two big spaces. So we need that space as well. So that programming space, exercise equipment. If we want people to come in and say, hey, while my child is playing in the sport, hey, I can go and use the exercise equipment, use a treadmill, whatever the other type of exercise equipment we have, stationary bicycle. Also have an area that you can show that sitting area while we're waiting. It's just a multi-use, multiple opportunities for why we're trying to build it the way we're trying to build it today. So I think I probably said enough. Barry, I'll let you take over the rest.
Perfect. Let me, I wanted to walk you through some of the slides. And of course, the 30% set of drawings has a lot more in it, but I didn't want to bore you with a bunch. I want to be cognizant of your time. So a couple things I'm going to do. We'll go through the 30% plans, at least hit some highlights on it. We're going to talk about the budget and schedule moving forward. So Kim, if you go to the next one. You got in there your packet. That's the existing layout of the facility. I kind of wanted you to see how it's laid out currently now. And flip to the next slide, if you will. You can flip back and forth in that in your packet. On the first two slides, you see kind of what we're proposing versus what we've got. The proposal is a very concise, condensed area. So we're taking that corner of what property we currently already have, and we've got plenty of room for expansion. Where the 3 buildings are now for the rec center, we still have that available after this development. So if we want to do things in the future, we've got room to grow. Go to the next slide, please. So this is kind of an overview of what we're talking about, and the yellow box there is a 4 basketball court area, all one building, ton of metal building, tall roof line that's got a bunch of pieces in it. In other words, if we want to do it basketball, they'll be able to drop the goals down and they play basketball. If they want to play volleyball, they'll be able to pull the goals back up and they can drop the nets down and they can play volleyball. Everything will be on the courts. The stripes are all there. They're just color coded on the floor, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. The area up front, the light blue color in front, we'll go into that. That's activity spaces, what Billy was talking about, a large activity space, a small activity space. We've got the pink area there is administrative. So we've got areas for Billy's staff there to function in Parks and Rec, as well as to support the building and the functions that are going on at the facility. We've also got the blue area there is a swim pool. I know that's something that you want to make sure that we had included, so we've got a pool there. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the lighter blue area at the very bottom of the screen, those are support services for the pool, which are changing rooms, restrooms, party room, and I'll go through that just a second, kind of show you what we're looking at in this price. So if you will, fast forward. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see the very large activity room. It's a little bit in the order of magnitude of what we currently have or bigger. And then we have a smaller activity room as well, and that's, if you can point to the large activity room for them, right there. And so you got it in the smaller activity room, as long as the restrooms that are just down from there. We've also got, it's labeled kitchen on your drawings, but that is really a warming area, so we want to serve hot dogs, concessions, that kind of stuff for an activity that we're having going on there, a tournament, that kind of stuff, that they've got room that they can serve food to the people. We've got a large seating area, that triangle to the right. It's a large seating area, so if you're sitting out there and you want to get out of the gymnasium, you want to have a place to have a meeting, you'll sit down or rest. As long as we do also have shown areas for you to sit, and if you want to enjoy a drink or have food and you want to look out onto the courts, you can sit outside in a quiet area and watch what's going on during the tournament play. And then, of course, in the top right is an area for the administrative room. We do have an L-shaped area that we've shown out for treadmills, exercise bikes, that kind of stuff. So as those things have changed, as they change over time, it's kind of mobile, but there'll be an area if people want to come in and get a membership or they want to use those type of activities. We've got a room set aside. It'd be kind of open air type situation, but they'll have treadmills and exercise bikes and ellipticals and that kind of stuff for them to utilize in the facility. Next slide, please. So I wanted to show you kind of what the floor plan looks like in black and white. It's very confusing. You can't see all the lines, but I thought it would be good for you to kind of see what can we use this for. So if you flip to the next slide, please, ma'am. So under a basketball layout, this is what we got, 4 courts. Of course, we got Moose Hope on the backside, so we'll have 5 basketball courts, 4 inside the new area that's there, and those are shown there in that brown color. Next slide. If you transition those things over to volleyball, you see the lines flip around and we get 8 volleyball courts inside this same thing, so you play 8 volleyball at the same time. Next slide. Same thing with pickleball. Those are pickleball courts. So there's a 1, 2, 3, 8 of those as well. So you got those done. Next line. And then we also showed indoor soccer. We can put the lines down there. So if we'll play indoor soccer inside there, they can drop in goals, that kind of stuff, and play indoor soccer on there as well. Next slide. I thought it was important. One of the things that we saw in Foley that I really liked was they were able to partition their big building off into sections. So we can put curtains in there that we can drop the curtains down and divide this thing off into quarters. So just to get an idea of how big the floor space is, those are typical exhibit booth areas on the top left. So if you wanted to have like an exhibit hall set up for somebody and you want to put in a quarter, you can see kind of how many booths you could have there. Pretty good size, substantial size room. We also did tables, like if you want to have a reception or if you want to have something that you want to have a table of 8. So those are tables of 8 that are there, and you can kind of get a feel for how many tables you could put in that room. I thought it was good, just visual observation of how big those areas are. So you could open it up to halves or quarters to do anything. So it's very multi-use, very open floor plan type space. One of the things they did when we were Foley that we really liked is when they do that down, they can unroll the carpet. They have rolls of carpet, they do it, and then tape that carpet down over the flooring so that it doesn't look like you're in the gymnasium, it actually looks like finished space. And we'd have room storage, and as we're designing it, we have room to store all those rolls of carpet to protect the flooring. The pool area, as we've got laid out, we've got a meeting set up with a pool designer later this week, maybe next week, the way the schedule's going, but to determine what that pool layout looks like and how the configuration is. But what we're looking at is a deeper end, so you can dive off and do swim. It's 25 meter, 25 yard, 25 yards. I always get that backwards. 25 yards, so if they do a 50-yarder, they go down and flip around and come back to the other way, but it's a 25-yard. I think it's 6 lanes. It's not showing that drawing, but I think it's 6 lanes shown. So on the L shape that's up towards the left-hand side of the drawing, that's a 0 entry. So if you have small children or if we have handicap ADA accessible, they can get into there. It goes down to a constant depth that's waist high. Then it transitions to a deeper end to the bottom of the screen. Now we may reorient that pool as we get into the design, but that's kind of the pool that we're looking at. We've also got a circular area that's shown in the bottom area, and that's we're considering putting in a splash pad or something for smaller children to play in, so that if they don't want to get in the water, but mom wants to sit there with the children or daddy wants to sit there with the children and play and splash, there's an area for that as well. And it's a very large decked area, a lot of concrete for people to spread out. Go back if you don't mind. On the right-hand side of that, you'll see some of those are changing rooms, restrooms, party room. It's got support services, so if they want to have a birthday party with the pool, they can rent the room out, set up birthday cake, serve their party stuff, and go play in the pool back and forth. So we're making sure we have spaces available for that type of function. Next slide. This is a quick slide of Moose Hope, and we're looking at how do we use Moose Hope and this total thing. So what we're looking at doing that is a multi-purpose type gym, something that we can use detached to the 4 courts. So if we've got a tournament going on, we've got 4 courts going on, and somebody wants to rent that separate, or if we want to use that for after-school activities with children, that kind of stuff. Moose Hope can be a separate entity, even though it's all under one roof. So that's one of the areas that we're looking at under 30% design, what it might look like. And those prices are also included in the budget. I know you can't tell much from the rendering, and I haven't pushed the architect too hard on this because it's 30%. But what you'll see in the front, the administrative area is going to be lower roof line, and of course you'll have the bigger building with the 4 courts behind it. So I kind of want you to get a feel for, if you're standing at the road looking in, what are you going to see? You'll see a lower level and then a larger building kind of tucked in behind it. And they're black and white at this point, but at 60%, you'll have some nice pretty renderings to look at. You can flip forward. Come on. So budget for where we're standing right now, these are current budget numbers. We're sitting right at $31 million for this facility. I broke it out, oversimplified the areas. The architect broke it down in 1 million line items. I broke it down for us to look at. So if you want to kind of get an idea of the swimming pool, the gymnasium, those type of numbers, those are order of magnitude. Some of those are hard to differentiate because you could say, the restrooms or the admin really functions with the gym, it really functions with something else, but we did our best to kind of break those out into separate areas for you to look at. At least get an order of magnitude. How much does the pool type functions cost this project, and give you an idea. I did put a 5% contingency at the bottom because at this point I know we need to add some contingency in there, plus the way inflation is going currently, the prices for today may be different by the time we go to bid. So the original budget was about $22 million that we started looking at on this thing, and that was a good number a year and a half ago. We spent a lot of time with the architect understanding why that number went from 22 million to 32 million as it sits now. One, the cost of materials is up. One, the cost of labor is up. And two, we know a whole lot more about what we want to build compared to what it is now. Now, I'll tell you, theoretically, the scope of the project hasn't changed that much from 22 to 32, but these are real bid numbers. We actually went out and found 2 contractors do independent cost analysis of this type of square footage and these type of usages, and they're coming back right on our numbers for what we're saying. So I think those numbers are pretty accurate if we were to bid the project today. I want to give you a schedule, kind of what we're looking forward going forward. The architect did meet his 30% design submittal to me. We've gone back and forth. Billy and I've given him some comments, and we've got some things we'd like to close up this week. We've got a 60% submittal coming in April, 90% in June, with a bid opening in August. That's what we're kind of looking at, with a goal to have this thing wrapped up and completed by the end of next calendar year, so that we're moving into calendar year 24 with a facility that's open to the public. I think that's an aggressive construction schedule, and that's pending that we can get the materials and the things that we need. We are hearing that like HVAC units are tough. I mean, some of us know that are in that business. It's tough to get these materials in, but based upon the information we have today, this is an aggressive schedule, but it's something that we think that we can meet. I do think the sooner we get this on the street right now, the better off we are. The longer we wait, it seems like prices are continuing to climb on us. So, again, we try to get, just as a general comment, we try to get everything that I heard the council say we need to make sure we include in this project. Try to get there, but I want you to see the price tag for what we're talking about at 30% and making sure that we have that discussion. But that's a quick review. Trying to follow your timeline of 30%, but I'll answer any questions you got.
So, I mean, obviously, there's no action to be taken on this tonight. 30% is a good checkpoint for making sure that staff's on the right track. So, please take advantage of this document is giving you, provide any feedback. I mean, you don't need any action from us tonight, but, I would like if somebody just is looking through this and says, what are we doing here? Please, start raising some flags here. I mean, I, for one, so far so good for me, other than the budget, but, to an extent it is what it is. But, I mean, everybody comfortable at least proceeding down our path here of 3060.
Good.
Okay. All right.
There's not a formal submittal. This is more informational just to make sure, pulse check, make sure we're on the same track. And I'll do the same thing when we get to 60%. But if you see something there, hey, why are we doing that? Or you have some comments for me, please reach out to me. And we'll make sure we include those in the construction plans. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, Barry. All right. So we do have time for some discussion on water board governance, which is something that we had decided we needed to work on. Q1, our specific goal is to make a decision on where we wanted to head with water board governance. So I'll let Jonathan get us started.
So I think in the past, I think some of you had received some information on this. We have 2 new council members. So just trying to tie this up, the question was asked, can we expand the water board, or we would like to. So went back and pulled some of those old emails. The answer is yes, you can expand it. I think it can go to 5 members, Rainer. You can't go more. And with that, it would require joint action from the city council and the water board. So I know there's a water board meeting tomorrow, which I would expect that may come up. But I wanted to let you know what the latitude was for the council and what action you might need to take if you decided to go down that path.
Yeah, so assuming, I mean, I guess the first, just to be practical here, the first thing would be to make sure that the council's on board and the water board is on board.
Correct.
So with going to 5 members, I think that's been the discussion, is go to 5. So, I mean, just quick straw poll here, Scotty, Greg,
Yeah.
Eugene, so, yeah, I mean, I agree. I've let, hadn't been shy about that, I felt 5 was a good number. So, we need to do the same thing with the water board.
So how does it work? When I say work, they have a meeting tomorrow, so I'm assuming it's gonna be discussed. So who makes the first? I mean, what if they say, what if their 3-member board doesn't want a 5-member board, and we saying we do want a 5? How does how does it get going with all
Yeah, so
this?
the water board would have to pass a resolution to amend its formation to go from 3 to 5. That would then come to the city council for approval, so it would originate in the water board.
So basically, ball's in their court now. So does that answer your question? And, if they don't act, we can't act, right? Yeah. So is that?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So council, I hope what you see here is that, the meeting we had a few weeks ago, we've got the details down here at the bottom. We've comprehensive plan under contract is a goal of Q1. We're doing that tonight. State government relations plan implemented. We're doing that tonight. Execute city resurfacing phase 3 task order. We're doing that tonight. Approve 30% design for recreation center. Begin work on 60% design. That's in process. I mean, we've accomplished that. Decision on water board governance. We've accomplished that. Proposal and recommendation from staff on training and development plan. That's in process. Should approve that next meeting. So I hope we're starting to kind of get into a rhythm here of seeing how how we can get some things done, stay on track, accomplish our goals. So, does anybody have anything else they want to discuss in work session?
I got a question about the potential Q2.
Okay.
You mentioned about these are things that just other general issues that can possibly get bumped up at Q1. And so where I'm going with that is, I know we do have some concerns that come to us from privilege of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see some of those on that. To me, that shouldn't be a second quarter issue, but somewhere where we can have some immediate conversation about those things, or some follow up from the staff to say, this person came and they addressed this. Kind of what have we done in the interim to kind of.
So you're saying something that is more of a executive, for lack of a better word, executive branch function that we've been approached about, just a feedback loop on that. Okay.
And it's good for the public to know that they're coming up here addressing concerns, and that it's not just maybe a particular council person calling them up or whatever. Us, that naturally we're gonna talk to the staff, with some open dialogue about, okay, this is what we're trying to do to improve issues on dumping, or this is what we're actively trying to do.
Yeah, because obviously there's already ordinances in place that address these things.
That's the things come up, because they know it's ordinances, but that doesn't mean that it's, it's just.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, John.
I was going to suggest that one solution to that, we could talk about that during our staff, during the council meeting, when we have staff comments. So if we do have something to report back from those.
So I guess potentially then, if something is brought to a council member or brought to the council during privilege of the floor, then maybe we should have a list of things that we want an update from staff on during staff reports. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So I can certainly add that to our agenda. And now, obviously, I'm going to have to depend on y'all to make sure that the agenda gets populated. So y'all make sure you get those to me. Staff reports on complaints and issues. Okay.
Now, we had talked about adding issues to, so say it's not urgent, say maybe it's something that someone brings to our attention that we think might need a current ordinance looked at to be changed, or might result in a new one. Is that something we
Yeah,
would
so-
stick under these?
So I'll kind of
We're not
walk
hijacking
through
the council meeting.
Yeah, walk through the process again. So the idea, think of all these Q1 goals as rocks that we just loaded our staff's wagon with. So, because these are new ordinances, these are major projects, these are comprehensive plans, these are state agendas, contracts, things like that. We've given them their marching orders. This is a lot of work. It's going to take a lot to accomplish. So if it fits that description, then we're agreeing at the end of the quarter we're going to make next quarter's goals. It's going on this list. We're not going to throw any more rocks on the wagon during the next quarter. It's going to go on this list. Then we're going to determine at the end of that quarter whether it's going to go on next quarter's wagon or not. We get to determine, and that's going to happen through a two-way dialogue with staff of how much they can handle, how much we can actually get accomplished, and then we collectively make that decision. And this keeps us from constantly chasing our tails and just taking care of the problem du jour.
The tyranny of the urgent.
If that makes sense, I mean, does that answer your question? All right. We got 4 minutes. Anything else?
Yeah. I do have one thing that if Chief Moore, if he could come up, something I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone about. It's an oversight on my part, but the school system had requested we look at potentially adding 2 K9 to the police SROs, I guess. And so with that, we obviously didn't budget for that, but they had talked about reimbursing. And so before we put it on the council agenda, I just wanted to give a couple minutes for Chief Moore to talk to you about that, and then see if that's something that the council would entertain.
Good evening. So I'll send this out so you can kind of look at the whole thing, but just to bring up the items that I have, the issues. So we have 1 K9 that's budgeted for me from last year when we had to put Caddy down, not Caddy, put the other K9 down due to cancer. So I still have another one I can purchase. The school was attempting to get a grant. They didn't get that grant. But out of that conversation came, is this something that y'all are interested still? And they said, absolutely. They wanted to purchase 2 K9s to put in the school system. These K9s, again, they're more or less docile. I do not have apprehension K9s, bite dogs, or anything else. I have K9s that protect their handler if they're being attacked, but I do not have ones that have K9s that seek out, right? So it'd be the same thing in the school system. However, one of the K9s will be trained to docile-like, seek out firearms and explosives. They can smell it on individuals. They can smell it in vehicles. They're phenomenal at their job. The second one they requested was a K9 for narcotics. So I'll purchase another K9 for narcotics. The school wants to purchase the firearms and another narcotics K9. The agreement between us, Dr. Kane, Dr. Thomas, and I, is we rewrite the agreement between the school resource and with the school resource officers, between the Board of Education and Police Department, to include these K9s in there. They purchased 2 K9s and the training. They will, at one point, whenever the market gets up on vehicles, look at purchasing a vehicle for the K9. The SRO salary, we still split up to 85%, so I still use them. I still pay them. It's all still in, all that's budget based. I have it budgeted for extra K9s and things like that. The only difference is purchasing the new K9s, which would be explosives and narcotics, and that would have to be, I don't have that in budget, and it is approximately $38,000 for those 2 K9s. Now, talking to the school, they said that they would reimburse upon receiving the K9s.
Okay.
It would require the MOA to be rewritten and probably amendment. I've talked to Rainer about that, and we're working on rewriting that agreement between us and the school. So, but that's what I'm looking at.
All right. Well, we've got no time to really discuss.
That's right.
So, if you want some feedback on that. If you need any action, then if I'll call you back up in the staff reports. We'll
Yes,
make sure there's no further. So, all right, we've got 5:59. Is everybody good to roll on through? All right, it is 6 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all members of the council are present. If you could please stand with me for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. We've got Reverend Andrus from Christ the King Lutheran Church.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord, we thank you for this day, this time. We thank you, Lord, for this city. We thank you for your plenty blessings. We thank you for the freedom to gather, to worship, assemble, to discuss and debate. To you be the glory. We pray for wisdom and courage at the facing of this hour, each hour. We pray it in Christ's name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, Council, you've got the agenda in your packet. We discussed it in detail in the previous work session in the last hour, so I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the City Council. I will now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've got a request to address the council for a permit request, so I'll now recognize O'Neill Boswell. Is O'Neill here? Representing Sam Boswell Honda, who has requested to address the council to obtain a permit to host a spring festival behind 609 Bellawood Circle, which is the Old Ryan's Restaurant, on April 5th, 2022 through April 9th, 2022. The James Gang will provide all carnival rides, midway games, and food vendors. O'Neill?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Great.
Any change? Anything we need to know about?
No, it's, they've already got their insurance. If I need to submit that, I got that from them yesterday in an email. So they've got the insurance. I think they've already got the business license already. I believe that's done. So everything's just kind of wash, rinse, and repeat.
Chief Moore, any concerns, problems?
Same thing we've done for the last 3 years.
Yeah. Chief Davis? All right. Any questions from the council? All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Boswell.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate all you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, now's the time of the meeting called Privilege of the Floor. This is where anybody who's present here tonight wishes to address the council of something that's not on the agenda, or anything that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. Certainly welcome to come forward. So is anybody here tonight to address the council? All right, want to come forward? And while you're coming, I'll remind everybody who's not aware that typically the council does not respond to privilege of the floor, but we do have a chance at the end of the meeting where the council sometimes will respond if they so choose. So go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Johnson. I'm the owner of Wiregrass EV Charging LLC. First, I'd like to thank the council and the mayor and the city manager for allowing me to talk tonight. I'm here to ask the City Council to consider installing or allowing my business to install level 2 and level 3 electric vehicle charging stations within the City of Enterprise. I'd hope to see level 3 chargers on the Bullweevil Circle and level 2 chargers in Enterprise downtown area. And I've emailed the city manager some information. Main reason I'm asking for this, currently there's 0 public EV charging infrastructure in Coffee County. There was a charger at Mitchell Nissan that allowed people to charge their vehicles there. I talked to them today, and that station is broken. So right now in Coffee, Dale, Geneva, Pike County, there's basically no charging infrastructure. And the number of electric vehicle owners, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Super Bowl. I'm more of a college football fan, but there was lots of commercials. All the major automakers are switching to electric. And in 2021, Alabama ranked 47th out of 50 states as far as electric charging. And right now, ADECA, Alabama's allocating $79 million over the next 5 years for charge infrastructure. And I would hope that Enterprise would take part of that. If Enterprise, the city, doesn't wish to do that, I started a business to hopefully make that happen and provide charging. There's 3 levels of charging. Enterprise actually does have level 1 charging, which is wall outlets at every power pole within downtown Enterprise, but that would only give electric vehicle it'd take about 24 hours to charge up, so not practical. Level 2 takes about 2 to 3 hours, and then a DC fast charger, which I'm hoping to install on the Bullweevil Circle. I'm working with local shopping center owners to lease property and parking spots to put that. That would charge an electric vehicle about 20 to 30 minutes to 80%. I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a car guy. I stumbled upon this because my wife, she was working at Flowers Hospital. She had a Dodge Charger. It was costing a ton of money to go to commute back and forth to Flowers Hospital, where she was a nurse. And we ended up buying a Tesla. And on our various road trips, we found some really nice places to charge along the way, where you can shop, eat, and it takes about 20 minutes, and you spend money at the local areas. And when we came back from those trips, we thought Enterprise would be like one of those perfect locations, especially downtown Enterprise. You know, you got the Bullweevil Nut Company, the soap company, all those businesses, the restaurants. I do realize that since it became an entertainment district, it's been quite busy, but I think putting electric charging in downtown Enterprise would help the community, help the businesses, and by 2030, I think it's expected that in Alabama it's going to be 20% of the vehicles sold are electric. So, and I can get as deep in the weeds as possible, but I'd like to keep my comments short. But I'd hope that the City Council might consider that in the future.
All right.
So,
Well, thank you, Mr. Johnson. I assume all of our contact information is on the website, but have you forwarded information to Mr. Tullis?
I did.
Okay,
I sent him some information.
All right. So if we know how to get in touch with you, we can talk to him. But thank you for your presentation. Very interesting, and we'll certainly discuss it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else here that wishes to take privilege of the floor? All right. Please tell us your name and.
Yes, my name is Reverend Dr. Brooks. To Mayor Cooper and to his panel. You remember the first weekend this month you said you was going to get back with me about this water situation, water bill going up, about the pipes and so forth, Rusty. And I live at 107 Flat Rock Drive out at Legacy Farm. And I was telling you about where my father and his father lived and they lived on, when they lived out there, it was, all it was just, they were living on chickens and hogs and,
Yes, sir.
and they didn't live on, it was no pipes, nothing like that. But you told me, I explained to everything to you, and you told me you would get back with me. And Bernice Brooks sold it to Carter Realty. See, we talked about it last week. But I can explain to you. I got the map here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got everything right here. I don't have to really even tell you everything, because I explained it in the last meeting we had. I got the map right here to explain everything. But
Yes.
so what I need to know a situation, what you all gonna do, what we gonna do, what we gonna decide or whatever.
So, to be honest, I don't recall telling you that I was going to get back with you. I told you that my contact information was on the city website and that I'd love to get more information from you. But so I don't think we have any answers tonight. Like you said, you brought this last time, but I don't think we have enough information to give you any more information. I'd love to get with you after the meeting, and we can get the conversation going.
Okay, well, I want to say this.
That is, I believe that's my district. I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting about it.
Yeah, I went over to your business, and they said, one of your workers said that the only way I could see you was somewhere around Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was out of town last week.
You know, and so the thing is, I'm just saying that if due to all respect,
yes, sir,
and Mayor and your panel here, is that when my father and his father that lived out there, and the Terrys that lived out there, they hunted for food, deers and so forth out there like that, and they lived on a lamp and wood in the summertime, wood in the wintertime, and they didn't have no electric. And then when I first moved out there, we had to hook up with on a telephone, and then it was like a party line, and I couldn't get nobody to come out. Nobody to come out there and hook up. I had to call public safety. And I'm the thing is, it's a shame when you got to call public safety for somebody to come out there and hook it up. But the thing is, what I don't understand is this here. Why is it that we're going to have to pay the same thing? You know what I'm saying? When it's never no rusted pipes out there.
So,
Mr.
Brooks, I think we're talking in circles. First of all, City Council does, like I told you last time, City Council does not control water rates. That's a water board issue. But I will be happy to discuss this with you after the meeting and get you pointed in the right direction. I never heard back from you last time. Like you said, if you came to see me, I wasn't where you came to find me. So let's talk about this after the meeting. I don't think we're going to be able to get you any answers here tonight. So I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting.
No problem.
Yes. All right. Is anybody else here to take privilege of the floor? All right. Seeing none, we will move on with our meeting. Do we have any staff reports up? Chief Moore, can you come back up, please? Were you through with your presentation during the work session?
I believe I was. Other than I don't. Well, I was going to talk to you about where I'm going to purchase the canines, but like I said, I can send most of that information to email outlining the reasons.
What are you going to need from us? A budget amendment or
yes,
or approval to allow you and the mayor to?
The agreement is going to have an adjustment to it with the school board. And rewrite the rules. If they're going to do this, they need to purchase a canine truck, and then we'll agree to put 2 officers in there.
You all, I guess we need to get the formal agreement to you.
Yeah.
If you'd like for us to do that at the next meeting.
Yes.
So, is everybody comfortable without basic outline of what he's presented? Obviously, it's going to come back to us. Okay.
Yes, and like I said, I'll send you everything so you can mull it over for the next couple of weeks and then go from there. So, yes, sir.
All right. Any other staff reports?
Mr. President, after Mr. Reverend Brooks came last week, we did go out there and looked around that 107 Flat Rock, both sides of the road, looking for sinkholes and stuff behind the water meters, and we didn't see anything that was out there. And I know that's from the Public Works side. Alec can speak from the Water Department side, but if he does have a particular issue, we'd be glad, I'll give him my cell phone number, you have him call me, we'll be glad to meet him on site and see exactly what concerns are. We did try to find out if there was an issue out there, and we did not find anything. But we'd be glad to follow back up if we get some clear direction about what the issue is.
What is the issue?
He doesn't think they do
I mean,
increase rates
right, that's
because
what
they
I'm
don't have
hearing.
any old pipes out there.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna make sure I'm on, that's all I'm hearing, so I'm.
Is that what I
trying to
understand?
Yeah.
And we also heard that there might be a sinkhole there at or behind the water meter valve, so we went there and looked for a sinkhole or some kind of a depression there as well. We didn't find that as well. But I don't want to speak for Alan if he had anything.
Okay. Thank you, Barry. Of course, last meeting when Mr. Brooks came, I did talk to him at the meeting, and I will meet with him again on the reasoning for the 550 for all the residents. I did meet with him after the meeting last 2 weeks ago, and so I'll meet with him again and explain it. And if we need to have a meeting with him, set up a meeting, I'll certainly do that too.
All right, thank you. Any other staff reports? All right, moving on to old business, of which we have none, so we'll move on to new business. So I will now introduce and consider Resolution 021522, which is to accept the deed from the state of Alabama. I'll now introduce and call for consideration of 021522, a resolution to accept a deed from the state of Alabama for the property located at 904 State Highway 27, Enterprise, Alabama, where the YMCA is located. While it may not be legally necessary, the city attorney has requested that the council desires to consider this resolution, that the council suspend the rules before passage of the resolution in a height of caution. So I'll now call for a motion to suspend the rules so that we can address this issue immediately.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. The rules are suspended, so we can, if we so choose, adopt this resolution tonight. So I'll now entertain a motion to adopt resolution 021522.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So now introduce and consider resolution 021522A, which is to approve a lease with the YMCA. So I'll now introduce and call for consideration of resolution 021522A, which is a resolution to approve execution of a lease between the city and the YMCA for the property located at 904 State Highway 27, Enterprise, Alabama, in a form substantially similar to the form lease attached here too. Resolution 021522A further authorizes the mayor and the city administrator to negotiate the final terms of the lease pending city attorney review and consultation with the president of the council. While it may not be legally necessary, the city attorney has requested that if the council desires to consider this resolution presently, that the council suspend the rules before passage of the resolution in a height of caution. So I'll now entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All right, with a motion and a second to suspend the rules, is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. So I'll now entertain a motion to adopt resolution 021522A.
So moved.
Second.
With a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Yeah, I will point out that we discussed this in length in our work session prior to this, and that we decided to go with this version, which gives the mayor and staff leeway to go negotiate the final terms that will allow the YMCA a seat at the table where we're not, and it should speed things up also. So, any other comments or questions, concerns? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now Call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a one-year agreement with Getty and Associates LLC for government affairs and legislative consulting services at a cost of $75,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now call for a motion to approve the selection of KPS Group Incorporated for professional services related to the development of a comprehensive plan for the City of Enterprise, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final agreement consistent with the proposal. The plan will provide for analysis of the city's existing conditions and address long-term plans regarding such areas of infrastructure, transportation needs, public facilities, zoning, subdivision regulation, and land use, among other things. Do I hear a motion to approve this plan?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we can call Glenn Morgan up to explain to us this next item. We didn't have time in work session, primarily for the benefit of the public.
Thank you, Council. You have a copy of this task order for what we are calling Phase 3 resurfacing improvements. As you know, there is a Phase 2 resurfacing improvement project that is currently under construction. Wiregrass Construction is the contractor. That project is scheduled to be complete. The substantial completion date is May the 2nd, I think. So they are about 20% complete with that project currently. That project, all of these projects were based on the roadway assessment that was completed by Barge, and those were based on PCI, pavement condition indexes, between 0 and 100, 0 being bad, 100 being the best. The first Phase 2, all those streets were from 0 to 20 on the PCI index. The only thing that was not done in those would have been streets that had water issues. And as we've talked many times before, there are several of those streets. This Phase 3 project is the same. It goes from PCI 20 to the work. Let me say this: we got a working list right now that's from PCI 20 to PCI 55. So that list has about 200 streets on it, and approximately about 45 miles of street is on this working list from 20 to 55. Now, there are streets within 20 and 55 that have water issues. We've identified those. We've pulled them over to the side. The Water Board is in the process now of designing a Phase 3 water replacement project that will address some of those, but there'll be multiple phases of those water replacement projects in order to get all those streets cleared. But this particular project will take from PCI 20 to 55. We've got a budget estimate between 5 and 7 million. Really, the reason that range is there is this is a working list. We're working through this list. Some of these streets that are on this list may be punted to a subsequent phase. So it's kind of a working list. That's kind of the way Barry and I are going about this particular phase. But there's plenty of streets, obviously, to address in this project. Any questions?
Any questions for Glenn before we? All right, thank you, Glenn. All right, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to execute task order number 51 to Poly Incorporated for engineering, design, and construction administration services for the FY22 Phase 3 resurfacing project. So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. We'll now introduce and call for consideration of a request from Human Resources Director Christina Meissner to hire one additional full-time building inspector at an annual salary of $39,013.04. Total cost to add this position for the remaining fiscal year with fringe is approximately $4,800, assuming there is a qualified in-house applicant. At this time, the current budget should not have to be amended due to vacancies in other positions, which would cover the additional cost and salary. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We did the we did the comprehensive plan, did we not?
He, I thought
Okay.
you said, okay.
Yeah.
Scotty did.
We sure? All right. Okay, moving on
Yep, we
to,
did.
we're moving on to review and consider street lighting modification for Bellawood subdivision. I'll now introduce and call for consideration of a request from City Engineer Public Works Director Barry Mott to install the following new street lights at an annual cost of $1,280.40. This consists of 10 aluminum poles and 10 45-watt colonial LED fixtures in Bellawood subdivisions. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now consider nominations for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So I'll now call for nominations to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, seat 5, to fill the unexpired term of Becky Hancock ending June 30th, 2024. So those nominations are now open. Do I hear a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Robin Foy to fill seat 5.
All right, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll now close nominations, and I will entertain a motion to approve the nomination of Robin Foy for seat 5.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, to approve that nomination. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, Mayor's report.
President, I would just like to announce tomorrow, Hillside High School basketball team will be playing Auburn High School. This is for the Alabama State tournament going on. And also on Thursday evening, we're gonna have a street over at the Performance Arts Center where they're gonna be playing the music of Whitney Houston. They're gonna have a full band and everything. So then, as far as entertainment for a small town, I think this is something well that we need to support our arts around. That's what they're trying to do to promote, entertainment here in the community. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and have a safe trip.
Thank you, Mayor. Sonia?
Thank everyone for coming tonight, and I just want to say how excited I was to see the plans even at the 30%. So I appreciate you all's work with that. And it seems like we're getting somewhere with that. So that's good to see tonight. Thanks.
I appreciate everybody coming tonight. And I too, I'm real happy about the number of goals that we are achieving for our first quarter of the 2022 year, and especially the rec center. All right, thank y'all.
Greg?
I'd like to thank all the staff for all the hard work that you've put into helping us start knocking these goals off the list. And it was great to see some actual drawings and pictures of the rec center. We could just figure out that inflation issue. We'd be a lot further down the road.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for all those that are watching us online. And thank you to our staff. Saw that presentation earlier, but it's even better now when you look at what's going to happen. One thing I'd like to mention is to everyone, I have another hat where I'm coordinator with Coffee County CERT Community Emergency Response Team. February 20th to 25th is the Alabama Severe Weather Preparedness Week. And then the Alabama Severe Weather Preparedness Sales Tax Holiday is 25th through the 27th. Our CERT team, along with Coffee County EMA, are going to be at Walgreens on February 25th from 8 to 1 p.m. We're going to be handing handouts, coloring books for the kids. EMA is going to talk to their Civic Ready alert system. And then we're also going to be programming weather radios. We haven't done that for about a year or more. Walgreens does not sell weather radios anymore, but if you have an old one that doesn't work or whatever, bring it to us. I have a radio whisper that can fix them. But I'm suggesting to folks to go out and buy a weather radio if they don't have one. Come to us. We'll program it for you for no cost at all. And you can also pick up some material and stuff because I want to make sure everybody's prepared, ready to take care of their families within this community, within Coffee County, the United States. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Scotty. So ditto what everybody said. Really excited about the progress staff's making on our vision for the city. Really, just knocking those things off one after another. So I appreciate all the hard work. Very excited about the progress on the rec center. Looks like we're finally headed in that direction. Been talking about it a long time. Mr. Johnson, thank you for your interest in our city, improving it. Certainly interested in learning more about that. You know, I'm excited about the developments with the YMCA property tonight that we addressed tonight. The YMCA has been providing a lot of value to our community for the last 52 years. I didn't realize it had been that long, but for 52 years, YMCA has been serving our community. So, you know, the number of lives that have been touched have been substantial. I'm one of those people that you know, I grew up. I went to the after-school programs. Certainly grew up playing soccer and basketball, and you know, learned to work out in the fitness center and played. No telling how many pickup basketball games in that gym, and now my own kids are in those programs. So you know, certainly, you know, that place means a lot to me. The city's been pursuing the ownership of this property for many years. You know, certainly before I was on the council, the city was pursuing you know, ownership of this property without any success. So you know, it's a huge development. You know, Mayor Cooper, Jonathan, thank you for your hard work on that. So you know, until now, the ALDOT could have non-renewed the lease. They could have taken the property back. They could have used it for whatever they wanted to. You know, if they wanted to put an office there, wanted to put a, you know, whatever they wanted to, they could have taken it back at the end of those terms. So now that's never going to happen. That, you know, what happened tonight is going to assure that property will continue to provide value for our city for a long time. And I want to be very clear on something. The city has no plans, certainly the leadership of the city has no plans for this property other than to support the YMCA in its current mission. I think I speak for all of you. I know I do, because I heard you say it tonight, and the staff in this room, that we want nothing more than to see the YMCA prosper and continue to provide value to the community. I truly believe that these developments put the YMCA in a much stronger position to do just that. So I look forward to a robust conversation about the YMCA's plan and vision for their property, for this new property that's now owned in the city. And, you know, I want to hear their plan for the next 52 years, what you indicated earlier, Scotty. So now we can have those conversations with much better clarity, because we know who owns the property and we know who controls it. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Please have a good evening, and we are adjourned.